FTC has finalized its new click-to-cancel rule aimed at ensuring that companies provide you a straightforward and hassle-free way to cancel recurring subscriptions and memberships. Consumer investigator Carice Jackman explains the specifics of this rule and breaks down how it will directly impact you.
James Combe, Associate Director of the Enforcement Division at the Federal Trade Commission, says the agency has received more than 16,000 complaints from consumers about the difficulty of canceling subscriptions. It's why the FTC is implementing a new rule requiring sellers to make the cancellation process as simple and straightforward as signing up.
We want to make sure that this is an area that is free for commerce, that people can compete, that consumers can take advantage without being taken advantage of.
The rule defines 4 practices as unfair and deceptive. First, misrepresentation. It prohibits sellers from misrepresenting any material facts when using negative option marketing. Basically, when a company automatically charges a consumer for a product or service unless they take action to decline or cancel it. Second, disclosures. The rule requires sellers to clearly disclose information near the sign-up area so people can easily see and understand terms before agreeing.
They have to tell people how they can cancel, that they're going to pay a fee or a greater fee, how often that fee will be charged.
Then there's consent. The rule requires sellers to get the consumer's clear and informed consent for the negative option feature before charging them. This has to be done separately from the rest of the transaction, like using a standalone checkbox. And most importantly, click to cancel. Sellers have to provide a simple mechanism for a cancellation. The rule is expected to go into effect this year. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Carice Jackman.
And that click-to-cancel rule actually went into effect on January 19th. Businesses have until May 14th to come into full compliance.